So
Great. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you everyone who has joined us today. I'm going to be focusing on the new pandemic unemployment assistance program here in Pennsylvania, but I'm going to start with some updates about regular unemployment and where claim processing is at and some of the issues that people have had with their regular unemployment. I'm going to try to leave a significant amount of time at the end for questions because I know that people have a lot of questions right now. And I'm going to tell you upfront right now that at least with pandemic unemployment assistance, things are changing by the day. So I will try as best as I can to answer questions. But it might be that in 3 days, I have a slightly different answer than I did today. So please stay tuned on our website and on PLA's Facebook page, where we'll continue to put out updates as we get information about the various unemployment programs currently operating in Pennsylvania. I'm also able to stay a little bit after 12 if our questions go after the full hour. Again, I know that there's just a lot of questions and a need for information right now. So first,
Julia,
yes.
I'm sorry. A number of people are commenting in the chat box that your volume is low. I'm hearing you fine, but I don't know if you're able to get closer to your speaker or...
Can people
okay,
let
hopefully
me know
that's better.
Okay, so I'll keep going. If that happens again, you let me know. So first,
okay.
The questions we get most often from people right now is, where is my money? There have been a lot of people who have been filing even since earlier mid-March who have still not received benefits. First, if somebody filed an application over 3 weeks ago and has not received a PIN number, the department is now saying they should request a new one. And there is a form online to do that. Please note that if people are reopening applications and they already have a PIN number, they should use that PIN number. And if somebody had a recent unemployment application from the last few years and they still have the PIN number available, they can use that PIN number. As long as they have not changed it or tried to reset it, the PIN number from their last claim is still valid. So I know a lot of people are thinking they need to wait for new ones, but if you have a PIN number already, you can go ahead and use that. The department has told us that if individuals receive their PIN after the date on which they were supposed to file their biweekly claim, their case will not go inactive, and when they get the PIN number, when they log in, they should be able to claim all weeks that are available to them. For those of you not familiar with the biweekly claim system, when you call in to the automated line or go online, it will typically show you the first 2 weeks available for you to file for. People will need to file for those, and then they need to go back to the beginning of the process again, and it will show them the next 2 weeks that are available for them to file for, and so on. So it doesn't pop up at the beginning. People have to go in and just file another biweekly claim until it does not show any more weeks available for them to file for. The second thing that we've been seeing most often is individuals who have been filing biweekly claims for a while, but have not received any payment. Now, for some of those folks, that is just a payment processing delay. They have processed, I believe, nearly 1 million of the claims for payment, but that leaves over 500,000 still unpaid. And so some of that is a delay. However, for several others, it could be an issue with their claim. So you should be telling folks in this situation that they should go to their local legal aid program if they've been filing biweekly claims at this point for, over 4 weeks and have not received any payment. Most likely what's happening, especially if they filed in March, is that they have a financial eligibility issue and they have not received the notice in the mail finding them not financially eligible yet. So the first question to ask folks when they come to you with this situation is to find out if they filed in March, and if so, to do some investigation about what their earnings were from October 2018 to September 2019, which was the base year applicable for March claims. you will be able to figure out pretty quickly if you think they're not eligible based on their March application. If they're not eligible based on the March application, now that we are in April, they can file a new application for benefits if they had significant earnings at the end of the year that go along with earnings throughout the rest of 2019. But if they only started working towards the end of 2019 or they only started working in 2020, they should file for pandemic unemployment assistance. We have a flow chart up on our website that helps people navigate this very tricky question. The other thing we're seeing is that some folks are being stymied by overpayments, whether that's fault overpayments that are offsetting their benefits, whether that's penalty weeks that they're serving that are preventing them from getting benefits, or an overpayment owed to another state or that is outside the recoverable time period. But when somebody has one of those things or has interest still on an old overpayment, the department has to go in and manually release benefits every time they file, which is ridiculous. But that is unfortunately how their back-end system works. And because they're so overloaded, people are not having that done. So that can also be a cause for why people have not been paid. When it comes to financial eligibility, there is a significant issue right now with mailing. A lot of people have received their notices of financial determination, finding them ineligible after the appeal date has already run. So at the top right-hand corner of notices of financial determination, there is a date mailed. The 15-day appeal deadline is based on that date mailed. However, the postmark date on most of these envelopes is 15 days after the date mailed on the document. So there is a mailing issue happening at the department. For those of you who are familiar with UC, these are things we always think are happening, and now it's happening in mass. The department is aware of the mailing issue. They have worked out an agreement with the Board of Review that all of these will get heard and will be evaluated on the merits, even if there is a late appeal. But of course, they have not told anyone that, right? So it's important for us to get the word out that individuals should and can appeal even if it's after the deadline. And the best way to do that is by emailing ucappeals@pa.gov, as you can see on the screen. Now, again, be aware, it only makes sense to appeal if W-2 wages are missing from the base year on that notice of financial determination, okay? That is the only situation where an appeal will get you anywhere, an appeal and also request for a wage investigation. And that does happen. We have clients who come in and they say, I worked for this hotel for 7 months in 2019, but none of the wages are showing up on my notice of financial determination. So there are situations where an appeal is necessary. However, for a significant number of folks, an appeal won't get them anywhere if they just didn't have earnings during that time period. Instead, like I said, they'll need to file an April application or a pandemic unemployment assistance application. If you are working at a legal aid organization and you have clients who are filing April applications, you should be telling them and helping them request backdating to the beginning of the month for April, because a lot of people have not filed new applications in April because they didn't receive notice that they were not eligible for their March claim in time. And they should not lose benefits because of that. I've been told the department that they will backdate when requested. For those of you who are not necessarily working individually with folks, if you get the word out that they can email that uchelp@pa.gov email address and ask for backdating, that's what people should be doing. They will not get an immediate response, but it will be in the system and should eventually be processed so that they don't lose out on weeks in April, which is especially important right now because of pandemic unemployment compensation, the extra $600 per week available during this month. On that note, pandemic unemployment compensation, which is the $600 bump that is available to individuals from the first week in April through the end of July, is currently being paid out, although our understanding is a lot of people have still not received it. Nobody has to take any additional action to get PUC. It is automatic with your UC eligibility. As long as you are eligible for at least $1 a week, you are eligible for the extra $600. What we have been told by the department is that it's actually paid out bi-weekly. So if somebody files a biweekly claim on a Sunday, they should receive their UC payment that week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, and then the following week, they will receive $1,200, which is double PUC, and then that will continue for the rest of time. For individuals who are in continuing claim status, meaning they are already receiving benefits. If somebody, for instance, receives their UC benefits for the first time this week since they filed, then again, the following week they will receive, they should receive a PUC payment for all of the, in essence, back pay of PUC. So if they're owed, 2 weeks, it'll be $1,200. If they're owed 3 weeks, it'll be $1,800, and so on. And so nobody will miss out on PUC because of a delay in having their payments processed. What's really frustrating for a lot of people right now is that the department has not implemented pandemic emergency unemployment assistance, which is the 13-week extension of unemployment benefits. So for people who have exhausted their 26 weeks in a claim year and cannot yet file a new claim year because their year is still open, they need this extension, right? So if somebody filed for unemployment in August 2019 and they've been collecting since then, they've most likely exhausted their benefits. There are no more benefits for them to get unless they can get pandemic emergency unemployment assistance, the 13-week extension. Everyone who's exhausted benefits will have access to that, and it will get backdated to the week ending April 4th. So it's okay if they haven't been filing claims during that time, it will get backdated. What we are trying to work out with the department is to not have a situation where everyone who has to go in and reopen their claim has to have that back end reopened by the department when they need PEUC, because that will really slow it down when it goes live, but that's still in process. So they have not put that extension yet in place yet. They've not put the extension in place yet, but it is coming, and we will let you know as soon as we have any information about when it's happening and how people can access it. Okay, so I'm going to talk now for the rest of the time, except if you have other questions, about pandemic unemployment assistance. Like I said, this is a constantly changing environment, but pandemic unemployment assistance launched on April 17th with an online application and a brand new portal system. Pandemic unemployment assistance is intended to provide benefits to individuals who do not normally qualify for unemployment compensation. This includes independent contractors or freelancers, self-employed individuals, gig workers, individuals who did not have substantial work history to qualify for unemployment, as we discussed earlier, and individuals who might not have had any work history, but had a job offer that was withdrawn due to COVID-19, or they can't start because of COVID-19. Now, that is not an exclusive list, as I will talk about soon. Our understanding is that almost anyone who is not eligible for regular unemployment will be eligible for pandemic unemployment assistance, assuming their lack of work right now is related to COVID-19. PUA will provide 39 weeks, which is 26 weeks plus the 13-week extension of benefits. Those benefits will range anywhere from $195 a week to $572 a week. PUA has a higher floor for benefits than regular unemployment. Regular unemployment, you can get as low as $68 per week. But pandemic unemployment assistance is tied to the average weekly rate of unemployment in our state, which is why it's set to $195 as the floor. All of these individuals are also eligible automatically for the $600 PUC payments. So similarly, when people file for PUA And when they receive their PUA payments, they will also receive back pay for all of the weeks they were eligible for PUC as well. I'm going to talk through a lot of the issues that we're currently having with the PUA application, but the big takeaway right now, they are not paying out these claims yet. They are not processing these claims. The system is not set up to evaluate eligibility yet. They're working on launching all of that. Right now, in essence, what they're doing is taking applications. So I know that folks have been waiting a really long time for this program, and it's frustrating that nothing has happened since they filed their application, and it's frustrating that the department hasn't told them anything about what comes next. So we're telling you there will be follow-up. You will hear soon about filing claims under the system, but for now, anyone who has filed an application just needs to hold tight, and I'll talk more about that in a second. One thing to note, we've talked about immigration status for regular unemployment. It is the same situation for pandemic unemployment assistance. If you are legally authorized to work, you can qualify for PUA. In fact, most people who have recent authorization should be applying for PUA, not UC, right? If they've only earned a little bit in 2019 or only started working at the end of 2019 or in 2020, they should be applying for PUA. The state will request documentation of their work authorization. PUA, like unemployment compensation, is not included in the public charge analysis for immigration purposes, and the online application for PUA is available in Spanish. Please note, as of now, there is no way to file a PU application by telephone. There is no service for that. There is similarly currently no service available to file a weekly claim by telephone. They are looking into how to set that up. We will provide you for information when we have it. Now, as many of you know, Philadelphia Legal Assistant launched a pro bono application service project to help people file their initial applications for regular unemployment compensation, and that is a statewide project. We are helping anyone who calls us in from across the state to file their initial applications for regular unemployment. Please note, this is not a general advice hotline. Please do not tell people to call the hotline with questions. It is just for filing initial applications for those who have struggled with technology or language access. We are not yet set up to do this for pandemic unemployment assistance applications, but we hope to be set up to do that sometime next week, and we'll send out an announcement when that is ready. We know these applications are very confusing for folks, and that some people will need assistance, especially if they're not technologically savvy, and definitely if they have language access barriers. So please stay tuned for that. The main takeaway, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this presentation, is that pretty much anyone not eligible for regular unemployment compensation will be eligible for PUA, with the sad exception that it's not going to cover undocumented workers, as are many of the programs coming from the federal government right now. The system is not yet quite set up to accept applications for a lot of the categories of people who should be eligible, because it just wasn't built into the question. So we're waiting for some updates about that. So not everyone should necessarily apply for PUA at this moment, but as soon as it's fully functional and they've made all the changes we've told them to make, pretty much anyone not eligible for regular unemployment should be eligible for PUA. That is very different from how it has been advertised, but it's really important that folks know that, and that has been further confirmed by recent guidance that just came out from the Federal Department of Labor. Okay.
Julia, I'm going to just jump in here quick, if that's okay.
Yep.
I'm going to be launching the first of the CLE polls. You should have a box that popped up on your screen. Please answer yes or no to the question. It will be left up for about a minute and a half, and you will need to respond to both questions, both polls, during the webinar to receive CLE credit. Thanks, Julia.
Of course. Can I go ahead and end the poll on my screen, Kelly?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the pieces of information that the department has shared about PUA is that it is asking folks to provide documentation in the application that shows proof of self-employment or their employment, or proof of their income, right? And so there's various different ways that people can do that. These are not exclusive lists that you see on the screen. I have been telling folks that, Venmo records can also be used to establish all of this. The system can accept documents in PDF form, in Word document form, and in various image forms. So people, if they have them, should be collecting this and should be ready to upload this in the application, because it's especially true for proof of income. One thing to note that PUA is looking at people's income from 2019. So they are not looking at income from 2020. That may sound problematic to some of you, but I will explain in a moment, because really the whole documentation thing is a little bit of a white whale, because documentation does not actually need to be uploaded in the initial application. It can be uploaded within 21 days after the application is filed. So if people are unable to figure out a way to do it in the application, they can do it later. There will be a way for them to do that in the PUA portal, which is a much more advanced information system than what people can see for regular unemployment. There's many more functionalities available online for PUA applicants than for regular unemployment applicants. And that's in large part because PUA is a reflection of the new benefit modernization system that Pennsylvania is planning to launch for the entire state. It has been launched in smaller form just for PUA. So there is more functionality there. People will be able to file their documents later. However, documents are not actually required. And this is really important. People do not actually need to provide documentation to prove their self-employment or their work history. All the Department of Labor is requiring is the self-certification question on the application. So documentation is not necessary for that, but it can certainly help with the department processing the claim. Where it's really helpful is not about eligibility, it's about determining weekly benefit amount, right? So if folks can provide documentation of their income from 2019, that will help the department decide what they qualify for each week for PUA. If folks, let me just see. So the key here is that every single applicant, even if they can provide no documentation and no explanation of their work history or proof of work or earnings, will qualify for the $195 a week, right? So this answers, for instance, our questions about cash workers who might report what their quarterly earnings were because they know that, but they don't have documentation for it. They will all automatically qualify for $195 per week, even if they have no proof of income. If you've only worked in 2020, you will qualify for $195 per week. If you barely worked in 2019, you will qualify for $195 per week. It is actually an incredibly generous system in that way. Now, if somebody had earnings in 2019, that they have documentation for it, they should provide that because they will most likely qualify for higher than $195 per week, right? So when people on this application are being asked to give their net quarterly income for 2019, they should try to estimate as best as possible in those 4 quarterly boxes, and their eligibility, their financial eligibility will be determined based on that. However, they will need to provide documentation to support that within the 21 days in order to keep that higher weekly benefit rate that they've established. If they don't, then what will happen is it'll just revert back to $195 per week at that point. Again, all PUA claimants will also receive the $600 bump. Okay, so I know this is a little confusing, but the key takeaway is everyone qualifies for $195 per week, no matter what they were earning. and you can qualify for more, but you're going to need to provide some documentation of income in order to get it. Now, with all of that being said, I'll just note, and I'm going to talk about this later, that anyone who has filed an application right now is automatically seeing the 195 come up as their weekly benefit rate, even if they did submit documentation and did submit information about higher quarterly earnings. And that is because the system is not yet set up functionally to issue determinations on eligibility. So it's just been setting everyone at the base level. People will get notices, just like regular unemployment, that identify what their weekly benefit amount is, but the system is not yet ready to do that. So that's why everyone right now is just seeing 195 in the system, even if they provided documentation information showing they should be eligible for a much higher amount than that. Okay, so eligibility for PUA. So please note, we are working on an explainer document that will get you screenshots of the PUA application, since it appears the department is not moving on anything like that. And I know that there's a lot of confusion with how to answer questions. This is a screenshot of the page asking about self-certification. Please note the self-certification question right now is very narrow. We have asked them to make it broader, again, given who PUA should actually cover. But you will see here the list of reasons that somebody is eligible under this. It is much broader than what's been advertised. And to be clear, for gig workers, they only, again, have to say that they've had a reduction in work due to COVID-19. They don't have to prove that their business has been cut off or that they've been shut down or anything like that, just a reduction. We are, again, looking for them to add things to this list that are that reflect the true coverage of PUA. For instance, I was looking for a job, but can't find one because of COVID-19, right? Or I was previously disqualified for unemployment, right? So and can't find a job due to COVID-19, right? There's lots of other reasons on here. We are trying to figure out with the department when they're going to update this and what else and what folks should do in the meantime, or if that just means that individuals whose situation is not covered by the options right now should wait to file PUA. People are asked, you can see at the very bottom, the last date they performed work. That's really important because PUA applications are backdated to when you stopped working. Now, if you worked recently because it's been a reduction in hours issue, still put the date you most recently worked. They should still be able to offer you weeks going back, and you can identify when it was that you first saw the reduction in time. Reduction in work. There's also a question about recall on there. Nobody should put a recall date on this application unless they actually have a real recall date from the employer. Otherwise, it should just be left blank. So quickly on that UC ineligibility issue. So as we've talked about before and has been pretty well advertised, workers who were found financially ineligible or would be financially ineligible can get PUA. There is now a question at the front of the application that says, have you been found ineligible financially ineligible for UC benefits? If somebody has been found financially ineligible, they should say yes. The issues people are still having are those who do not have a determination yet, finding them financially ineligible, or who didn't apply to regular UC because we knew they weren't going to be financially eligible. They are still sometimes getting kicked out of the system. We have made unemployment aware of this problem, and we are hopeful that they are working right now to fix it. But again, people with W-2 wages are still having some issues with the system. The big takeaway from the recent Department of Labor guidance is that claimants who had a previous disqualification from unemployment based on another job separation. So let's say they applied in October, they applied in January, and they were disqualified for benefits based on their separation. And they haven't been able to purge that disqualification, which means they haven't earned 6 times their weekly benefit rate since getting disqualified. They should be eligible for PUA because That was specifically laid out in the guidance from the Department of Labor. So again, right now, the eligibility questions don't really cover those folks. And so we think they should hold off a little bit in filing. But for my legal aid partners on the phone, as soon as we get the go-ahead that there's a way for people to use the application in this situation, you should be blasting out information to all of your clients who have been disqualified in the last year, and make sure they know they can access pandemic unemployment assistance. That is huge for our client population. Okay, so back to the question of who cannot get pandemic unemployment assistance. So as I said, undocumented workers are unable to get PUA, but there are a few other categories that we've received questions for, right? So one of the things laid out in the DOL guidance is that if somebody has been given telework or been offered remote work, they are not eligible. They are able to work. COVID-19 has not stopped their ability to work. The two questions we get most often, and I appreciate the tenacity of the people asking these questions, is, well, what if I'm still employed? I'm working in my W-2 job, but I had a side business that brought in a decent amount of income, and that side business is no longer functioning or isn't earning anything because of COVID-19. Can I apply for PUA? The answer is no. And the answer is no, because you are still considered fully employed for purposes of unemployment. Unemployment does not consider you partially unemployed or unemployed if you're still working full-time for your regular W-2 job. Unfortunately, this is not meant as benefits to reimburse people or cover people whose side business has experienced losses due to COVID-19. It's just like, when somebody says, well, I'm working full-time with a job and I also have a part-time job and I lost the part-time job, like, can I get regular unemployment? Same situation. They're employed fully, so they can't get regular unemployment because they lost the part-time job. Now, I know that's frustrating to a lot of folks because obviously in our society, given what people are paid, many people need to work multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. Hopefully right now, the extra $600 a week, the PUC bump, will help those people who were in that situation and may have qualified for a lower benefit rate. But unfortunately, again, if you're still fully employed, you can't get any unemployment benefits. Similarly, individuals who had a full-time job or like a part-time UC job, a part-time W-2 job, and lost that and filed for regular unemployment and are receiving regular unemployment cannot file a PUA claim to cover the loss of their gig work or their side business income, right? So if you had a W-2 job that qualified you for regular unemployment and you've lost that or had a reduction in hours and you're collecting regular UC, you can't also collect PUA for the fact that the gig work you did on the side or your DJ business on the side is no longer earning income. You can only access one of the programs. You can't access both programs. And if you have qualifying W-2 wages, you have to go to UC. You cannot use PUA. So, as I mentioned, there are significant issues with the PUA application and backend system right now that the department is working through. We notice changes to the application almost daily. Some important differences and things to note for PUA. Unlike regular unemployment, PUA does not require a PIN number. People will not receive a PIN number in the mail. They do not need it. When they are ready to file a weekly certification, they will do that using the username and password that they created during the application. Right now, there is no ability to file weekly certifications. And note, I say weekly. PUA accepts weekly filings, not just biweekly filings, but people can file biweekly. If you log in biweekly, you will see both weeks available to you, but you can also do it on a weekly basis. The system is not yet set up to take those. So if you've been trying to log in to file your weekly certification, it's not you, it's them. They're not ready to accept those. So don't bother trying right now. Similarly, we've had some people say, I got to the end, I saw a confirmation number, but now I can't sign into the system. Is something wrong? Do I need to file a new application? No, just leave it be. Again, the system is glitchy. The back-end functionalities are being worked out. They do not need to and should not file a new application. Similarly, unlike regular unemployment, pandemic unemployment assistance is not sending confirmation emails when people's applications are filed. So the fact that somebody did not get a confirmation email does not mean their application wasn't successfully filed. They may end up sending those out at some point, or they may not. We're trying to get clarification from them. But again, if people went through and got to the end and filed the application, they are good. They do not need to do it again. Similarly, as I said before, they can upload documentation later, but that functionality, again, is probably not set up yet. I know that it's been asking people some funny questions when they go in to try and upload documentation, so wait for further guidance from the department and from us. As I mentioned before, everyone, when they file, is now seeing on their dashboard that they are eligible for $195 per week. It comes out to like a total of a little over $7,000 on their claim. Again, everyone is seeing that. The department has not yet determined weekly benefit rates. Also, everyone in the system is showing that they have at least 3 issues with their claim. And it's identifying the issue by name, regardless of what they submitted with the application, regardless of what they put on the application. Everyone is seeing it. Again, it is a back-end functionality problem. People should wait and wait again for clarification and guidance from the department about what comes next. One thing to know about PUA is that in order to file for PUA, you are required to have an email address. So what it does at the beginning of the application is if you don't have an email address, it takes you through steps to create one. They have said they are still going to mail out notices for PUA. We have clarified that with them several times. It's not just coming online. It's not just coming by email, but there is a point at the beginning where people can choose how they want to get notified of new information. If you have people who are really struggling because they can't create an email address, they don't know how to do this, please let us know at PLA. This is something we're tracking because it's something that is also planned for the new regular UC system that we have really been making a lot of noise about because we think it's problematic. And so if we're seeing that it's problematic with the rollout of PUA, it's helpful to collect that information because we can use it in our advocacy efforts for the new system. My other point here is that unemployment has people's email addresses, and we are pushing them to email folks with updates about what is happening with the system. Since nobody is receiving information at this time, I am hopeful that they will take some sort of action on that. But in the meantime, as things change with PUA, keep updated by following Philadelphia Legal Assistance on Facebook. We are putting constant updates out there, and by checking our webpage for more information. If someone is having problems with the PUA application and they can't get through, tell them to just wait and try again in a couple of days. They're making constant changes to some of the glitches. And again, applications are backdated to the date the claimant lost work, not based on when they apply, unlike regular unemployment. If you are seeing claimant shut out of the application for a particular reason over and over again, please let us know. We also have significant due process concerns when they are kicking people out of the application and not giving them a reason and not giving them a way to appeal that and just telling them to go file for regular unemployment. Again, we have made this known. We are waiting for a response about how that's going to be handled and how they're going to treat people who have not been able to file a PUA application up to this point. But again, the main takeaway is if it's not working this week, hold up, file the next week. There are a lot of tricky questions that get people kicked out for various reasons we do not understand. And again, have made that clear to the department. We are working on explainer guides to help people navigate. So if they're getting kicked out now, tell them to hold off. We're going to send out more information and just, I know it's painful, but just wait a little bit longer. And we will make sure that everyone gets to file their PUA applications that should be filing a PUA application. Okay, so with that being said, again, for those of you in the Philadelphia region who have community members or clients who need assistance, PLA is assisting everyone with PUA issues as well as regular UC issues. Please be somewhat patient for us. Our client population has literally doubled because of PUA. We are now covering a whole new subsector of workers who previously were not eligible for UC and therefore were not coming to us for assistance. But we are trying to help as many people as possible. Same thing I know for all of my legal aid partners across the state. Folks should make sure that they are checking the Pennsylvania Legal Aid Network website and directing individuals to their local legal aid organization. Pretty much every legal aid organization in the state right now is helping people with UC issues because everyone has UC issues. And so people should be able to find assistance when and where they need it. And with that, I'm going to stop and take questions, and give me a second to figure out how to stop sharing my screen. There we go. Okay, so I see that there are questions on the chat, and I'm going to try and come through and answer as many of those as possible. And I'll even put my video on so that you are not looking. Oops, somebody just started to share their screen. They should not be doing that. Okay, I think Kelly cut them off. Okay, hello everyone. So I'm going to try and answer as many questions as possible. As you have them, I'm going to go through the comments and let me know. Okay, so somebody asked if you've reopened an application and the PIN number is no longer working. So I'm not sure about PIN number not working. When you reopen again, it won't necessarily let you back in to file a biweekly claim unless it's touched on the back end by someone from unemployment. If your PIN was working and allowed you to reopen, but then for some reason you can't log back in, it says it's not recognized, I would email uchelp@pa.gov. But generally, the issue that people are having is just that they can't file a biweekly claim after they reopened because their case is still inactive until unemployment touches it on the back end. They are supposed to receive, claimants are going to receive a confirmation email when they file an application online for regular unemployment, and they usually receive them when they file biweekly claims, but they do not receive, as of now, a confirmation email when they file for pandemic unemployment assistance. So I was asked about covering individuals who work under the table. So our understanding, again, is that cash workers or workers who work under the table should be covered and that they should qualify for the $195 a week, even if they do not have proof of income to provide. What I can't tell you is what sort of data or information sharing is happening between unemployment and the Department of Tax and Revenue or the IRS. So again, that caution is always out there. You're going to have to decide how to advise your clients in that situation. But they are covered by the program, and they will be eligible for benefits. So I was asked, what's the most claimants can be currently earning to be eligible for partial UC? So that is not a one-size-fits-all answer. It depends on something called a partial benefit credit. So when somebody files for regular unemployment and they're issued a financial determination, they are given a weekly benefit rate and they are given something called a partial benefit credit amount. If you earn less than your partial benefit credit amount, you are eligible for your entire weekly benefit rate. If you earn more than your partial benefit credit, then there's a one-to-one deduction above that of your UC benefits. So it just depends on what those numbers are for an individual person. Please note, no matter what what their numbers are, people need to report their income to unemployment, even if it's under their partial benefit credit. If they do not report the income to unemployment, and unemployment will later discover they had it, they will get assessed an overpayment. So the most important thing is they report it. Unemployment will then calculate what they're eligible for. And as long as they're still eligible for $1 of benefits, they will also get pandemic unemployment compensation for that week, the $600. Okay, so I got a question about unemployment compensation hearings. So all referee offices are now open again and doing telephone hearings only. So individuals who had hearings scheduled before COVID-19 hit should all be rescheduled according to the Board of Review, although we have found that is not necessarily the case. They're all being scheduled as telephone hearings, and we believe that there have been some issues with people getting notices of hearing in the mail because of current mailing issues. If you represent someone, we recommend immediately entering your appearance by email and asking for copies of the notice of hearing and the referee file by email. They are supposed to provide all of that by email during this crisis. That is something we worked out with the Board of Review. But you'll need to enter your appearance in order for them to email you that. All hearings, as far as I know right now, will be scheduled as telephone hearings for the near future due to the crisis. So I got our current workers whose income has been reduced eligible for PUA. So if somebody has W-2 earnings, if they are a W-2 worker and their hours have been reduced, that is for regular unemployment. They should be applying for regular unemployment. If they are self-employed, a gig worker, or independent contractor or freelancer, and their income has seen a reduction or has ceased because of COVID-19, then yes, they can apply for pandemic unemployment assistance. The weekly offset works very similarly for PUA in terms of reporting weekly earnings as it does for regular unemployment. They'll be looking at net earnings, not gross earnings, since we know that's obviously a problem for a lot of individuals who are self-employed or receive 1099s. Okay, if a claimant lost a job in 2019 due to due to non-COVID-19 reasons and exhausted your benefits in March 2020, you should not apply for PUA, even if you are apply for part-time work. Yeah, okay, so if somebody has exhausted their benefits, they will be eligible for PEUC, the 13-week extension. They should wait for that. Now, there is a question about whether those individuals could be eligible for PUA to cover the period of time before PEUC is valid, right? PEUC can be backdated to the first week of April. So if there's a time period in March where they were not able to find work because COVID-19 had already begun to impact them, then they might be able to receive PUA for those 2 weeks. But I would hold off on having anyone apply for PUA right now who's expecting PEUC, because I think it will cause problems with the department on the back end when they try to implement PEUC. Once PEUC is up and running, then I do think we should have people file for PUA for the 2 weeks that could be covered in March. I say 2 weeks because generally speaking, it's going to be harder for people to prove that COVID-19 affected their ability to find work prior to that kind of March 16th date when just the whole state suddenly shut down. But we do think they could be eligible for PUA for that time period. Will PUA be taxed? Yes, PUA is taxed, as is PUC, same as regular unemployment. There are federal taxes, it's around 10% withholding for people. They can choose to withhold it at that 10%, or they can choose not to have withholding, and they will receive a 1099 from the Department of Labor and Industry next year for these benefits. Can PUA cover unpaid sick leave that is not eligible for the new federal sick leave law? So if somebody is receiving unpaid sick leave as a W-2 worker, they should be filing for regular unemployment, not for PUA. One thing to note is PUA is being advertised as covering all these workers who are unable to work due to COVID-19. And a lot of those reasons are qualifying for regular unemployment in this state. We have very good law around voluntary quit here. So if somebody needed to take an unpaid leave of absence, their employer gave them an unpaid leave of absence, they should be eligible for regular unemployment in that situation. If there's some sort of unpaid sick leave they're getting as an independent contractor, then yes, you could apply for PUA, but I think that's generally for W-2 workers. I wish that I could tell anyone on this call when the first PUA payments will be made. I can't even tell you when they're going to issue determinations on eligibility, let alone make payments. I know that they are working as quickly as possible to get these systems up. I doubt they're going to give an expected date because I think they're probably going to be worried about hitting that. But as soon as we know anything or as soon as any information is released, we will let you guys know. Yes. So a question, can a stay-at-home parent who had no income in 2019 or 2020, but whose kids now need to stay home because school closed qualify for PUA? If they would be otherwise trying to find work right now and can't get work because the schools are closed and they have to stay home with their kids, yes, they can get PUA. If they were never connected to the job market, they were never planning to look for work, that might be a little bit more difficult. But I'm also really not sure how the department would evaluate it or make that distinction in any of these cases. Again, that's part of the question we still have about how eligibility is going to be determined. Work search requirements do apply to PUA, but again, right now, all work search requirements are currently waived under state law because of the crisis. So if those waivers go away, then work search will become mandatory for PUA applicants as well. But as of right now, work search requirements are waived, and I think they will probably be waived for the considerable future, given what's going on. Okay. Yes. So there was a question about the difference between lower income workers and their eligibility for UC versus PUA. Low income workers with W-2 wages will probably qualify and could qualify for less benefits in regular UC than people who had no discernible income who qualify for PUA. That is an unfortunate situation for our low wage workers, but it highlights problems with our UC system that are legislative in nature and that have been around for a really long time. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that, right? We can't, if somebody has W-2 wages, they cannot apply to PUA because it would give them a higher weekly benefit rate. They have to apply to regular UC. There may also be benefits. We're still trying to figure out if there's benefits to getting regular UC as opposed to PUA in the future. The one I can think of is that eligibility for regular UC may continue to get more extensions as we move forward in this crisis, similar to the recession. And so that would be a reason to be on regular UC because we don't exactly know what's going to happen with the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, which is currently set to expire at the end of December. Yes, the question is, are people in work search programs for TANF eligible for PUA? Yes, they should be. I would have them apply. Just again, anyone who is searching for work and can't find work due to COVID-19 should apply for PUA. Again, that is, I would have them hold off until it is clear that there is an eligibility question they can answer correctly. Again, the system is not currently set up for that, but all of those workers should be eligible for benefits. Okay. So I think
while,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. While we're waiting for any other questions to come in, I'm going to launch the second poll for the CLE credit. Please respond yes or no to the question so that we can see that you are still participating in the webinar. Thanks, Julia.
Of course.
If you have any other questions, please type them in now to the chat box feature.
Yeah, I'll wait a few more minutes. Hopefully either I managed to answer everyone's questions or I confused the heck out of all of you so much that you don't know what question to ask. I really hope it's the former and not the latter. But let me repeat again, these situations are changing every day. So we are getting updates to people as often as possible. When we get more information, we're trying to get information out to workers. The best thing for everyone on this call to do is to share this information as widely as possible, because really people do not have access to information and don't know what's going on, and they need information. So your job right now, what can be really helpful for people in our communities across the state, is for you to share information that you're learning in webinars like this, or that you're learning from the listserv, or that you're getting from our website, or getting from our Facebook page. Please share all of that. People are desperate for information. They just want someone to tell them what's going on. I can tell you that when we announced all of those issues that the PUA application was having, I saw so many responses across the internet being like, oh my God, I thought I was crazy. Thank you for clarifying this is what is happening. Because people, again, are really confused. So please help spread information as much as possible right now. So I think with that, I don't see any other questions. Oh, I'm getting one now. Yes, so if somebody, there's another question about if somebody quit and was determined ineligible for regular unemployment. If somebody had previously been determined ineligible for regular unemployment based on a voluntary quit, and they have not been able to find work because of COVID-19, then yes, they should apply for pandemic unemployment assistance. This brings up one issue I just wanted to flag. This puts some people in a really difficult situation who may have had a job separation, let's say in January or February, that was pre-COVID-19, but had not applied for benefits at that time. And then now, since they can't find work, they're trying to apply for benefits. Those people need to go through the regular UC system first. That's frustrating, because if we think that their separation is going to be disqualifying, then they're going to have to wait to get disqualified from regular UC before they can apply for PUA. So if they have not yet been through that process, they're going to need to go through that process. I am looking into if there's any way to expedite that for folks in that situation. But if they had a pre-COVID-19 separation and are a W-2 worker, they need to go through regular unemployment to assess that separation. And if they are found eligible, they'll get regular unemployment. But if they're found ineligible, they should then be able to qualify for pandemic unemployment assistance. Okay, I believe that this PowerPoint is going to be available on plans document. Sorry, I forget what it's called, Kelly. the brief and document.
Brief and information bank.
There we go. And it will be available on YouTube. I can work on getting a copy of the actual PowerPoint out, although again, it may be outdated in 24 hours. Fair warning. But I will work to get that out to folks through Kelly as well. So thanks to everyone who is on the webinar. Thank you so much for everything that you are doing for workers across the state. I know that people have shifted priorities. People are working on unemployment issues that had not been doing this before. Thank you. We need you. Workers need you. And we couldn't be doing this without you. So thanks for participating. And I'm sure you will hear from me soon.
Thank you so much, Julia. Thanks everyone for participating, and have a good rest of the day. Be well.